Welcome back to Fighters Performance. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can go from being a gassed out amateur fighter to becoming an absolute savage over the next 90 days. My name's Jesse Astle. I'm an accredited nutrition advisor, professional fighter with over 30 fights all across the world. In this video, I'm going to break it down and give you the absolute basics that have worked for me to go from amateur to professional level athlete fighting all across the world. First thing I need you to do is actually focus on this video. So if you can't sit down and watch this whole video, you're never going to make it as a champion. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb because I'm about to put you on some free game. So the first thing that I want to talk about is your nutrition. Now, being an amateur level athlete, yes, you're training hard, you're probably working full time as well, but take some time to actually learn about your nutrition. So first thing that we need to understand is calories. So calories equal energy. Our body uses these calories to do all types of things, whether it's just breathing, our heart beating, or it's training at a high intensity. We're using calories to do that. So the first thing we need to understand is where these calories come from. So they come from three main macronutrients. There's protein, carbs, and fats. Now, when we think of these macronutrients, we can assign a little job to them just to keep it basic. So protein is all about building and repairing muscle. Now, when we think about carbohydrates, a lot of people think that carbs are bad, but for athletes, our body utilizes these as its primary fuel source during high intensity training sessions. So think about carbohydrates as your fuel in your tank. Now, the third one here is fats. Everyone thinks that fats make them fat. That is not the case. Eating too many calories is what's going to make you fat. It's really important that we're getting a good amount of healthy fats in the diet. Avocado, olive oils, and things like that are going to be really important as an athlete. And what fats do, they're like little workers in the body. They go around and they help the body with everything, whether it's fat-soluble vitamins or it's your hormone function. So we'll just call them the workers. Now that we've assigned a role to each macronutrient, we can start to understand why we need them in the diet. So protein's going to help us build and repair muscle after training sessions. Carbohydrates here are going to fuel our sessions. What happens when we eat carbohydrates is it breaks down into glucose. This then gets stored as what's called glycogen in the muscle and in the liver, and then we utilize that later in our training sessions. So we'll touch a little bit later on what kind of carbs we should be eating and why around our training session. And fats, again, super important. The workers of the body going to go around and do all these little jobs. We can think about this. This is how we're going to create our calories. We need to understand that each of these provide the body with calories. So protein equals 4 calories per gram, carbs equal 4 calories per gram, and fats, they actually equal 9 calories per gram. Later on, when we talk about actually tracking your calories, it's going to be very important you remember these numbers. Protein gives you 4 calories per gram, carbohydrates give you 4 calories per gram, and fats give you 9 calories per gram. Very important that you remember that number right there, 9 calories per gram, because it's very easy to overeat on fats. Fats taste good. It's what makes us think food is delicious. It's a ratio of fats to carbohydrate that we really enjoy eating. So we need to be careful when we're adding fats to our meals, all right? We'll touch on that later. Now, with all this new information that you've got, we can start to assign yourself some set macronutrient targets. So how much protein you should be eating, how much carbohydrate you should be eating, and what kind of fat and how much you should be eating. So to keep it super simple, we can do a deep dive into this later, but right now we're going to keep it simple with the 3-2-1 rule. I'm going to write that up here, 3-2-1 rule. This is very basic for an athlete. What this means is 3 grams of carbohydrates, 2 grams of protein, and 1 gram of fat per kilogram of body mass. So for this example, we're going to be using an 80 kilogram athlete. Using the 3-2-1 rule, we go carbs first. We go 80 times 3, which equals 240 grams of carbs per day. Next is protein, so we go 80 times 2, 160 grams per day. Next is fats, nice and easy, 80 times 1 is 80 grams per day. This is your good starting point for your diet. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but this is a great starting point. So take your body weight. If you've got a bit of excess fat, take your goal body weight. So say your goal weight is about 80 kgs. Let's be honest, if you're walking around at 110, 115 and it's mostly body fat, we don't need exactly that much, all right? So take your goal weight. Usually it's like a nice lean weight. We can get a good number. We start to understand calories. So we know that carbs and protein both have 4 calories per gram. So we're going to times those by 4. And then remember, fats have 9 calories per gram. So we're going to times those by 9. And the number that this gives us, so if we go 240 times 4, that equals 960. And then we go 160 times 4, that equals 640 calories. Then when we go 80 times 9, that gives us 720. So now to find your calories, we simply just plus all of these together. And this number here is going to be your total calories. And that equals 2,320. that's going to be your starting point for your calories. So download MyFitnessPal, times your body weight by the 3-2-1 rule. That's going to give you your macronutrient targets, and it's going to spit out your calorie target. Obviously, you'll be a little bit different. Now, as an athlete, we're going to have high load training days as well. So on those high load training days, this 3 here for carbohydrates can actually become 6. Because remember, our body uses glycogen as its primary fuel source during high load training sessions. So making sure when we're training at a high intensity, whether we're doing a high load session in the morning and a high load session at night, taking these carbohydrates and making that 6 times body weight. So if we go 80 times 6, that gives us 480 grams. Again, we times that by 4 to get our calories. That equals 1920. So now we plus our carbohydrates with our protein and our fats to give us a total calorie of 3,280. So this will be your medium load days and this will be your high load days. That's the easiest way to figure out your medium and high load training days, okay? You need to eat more carbohydrates on your higher load training days. As athletes, we need to eat way more food. Next thing I'm going to talk about is hydration. Hydration is sometimes referred to as the 4th macronutrient. Of course, it doesn't provide any energy to the body, but it's so important that people do consider it a 4th macronutrient. So I'm going to write here hydration. The golden rule that I use with all of the guys that I work with is 35 mils to 45 mils per kg of body weight again. Everything's working off that body weight. So again, for our 80 kg athlete, his hydration is going to equal 2.8 to 3.6 liters per day at a baseline, okay? On top of that, we have our rehydration protocol. So this rehydration protocol works off your body weight pre-training. So our 80 kilo athlete, that's his morning fasted weight. When we're weighing our body weight, we always want to weigh ourselves in the morning, after the bathroom and before breakfast, and that's going to give us the most accurate reading. Because if he goes through the day and he eats breakfast, lunch and dinner and then drinks his 3.6 litres of fluid, of course he's going to urinate some of that out, might go to the bathroom, but he might be sitting at, let's say, 82, 83 kilograms because he's got a lot of food volume and fluid being held in there right now. So always weigh yourself first thing in the morning. Now, our rehydration protocol, I need you to weigh yourself before training and after training. So let's say before, he equals 82 kilograms. And then he's going to train for his hour. Let's say he trains for 1 hour and then he weighs himself after. And now he equals 80 kilograms. So that means he's had a loss of 2 kilograms. Now, because it's all sweat, you're not going to lose body fat over an hour. It's going to be sweat. So he's lost water. So that 2 kilograms equals 2,000 mils. So we need to replace that 2,000 mils by 125% to 150%, which means after training, he needs to rehydrate 2.5 liters to 3 liters. And with this, because when we sweat, we lose electrolytes. So sodium, potassium, magnesium, we need to add some electrolytes back in there to help replenish what we've lost during that session. So I'm going to write here electrolytes. So you can see here now I've put plus electrolytes. So this fluid, this extra 3 liters that he needs to drink after training should not be sculled. The body takes time to digest this water. So you should be drinking this 3 liters of the rehydration protocol, adding in some electrolytes at the start over a 6-hour period to allow the body to digest that water. Okay, if I just sculled 3 liters right now, I'd probably go to the bathroom in 15 and piss out 2 of those, okay? So now that we've covered how to find your macros, how much water to drink, and how to replace any fluid that you've lost during training, I want to talk to you about tracking your calories. Some people talk about tracking calories as having a bad relationship with food, but if your relationship with food has got you to being a fat fuck, then what's the point, okay? So by tracking calories, you're going to start learning how much food your body needs, and you're going to realize, holy shit, I'm either under eating on carbohydrates and overeating on fats. And you're going to start to realize, okay, if I tweak my macros and set it to what we've just set, your performance is going to increase, and that's what's going to help you go from average to savage in absolutely no time. Especially important if you're gassing out in your sessions, probably have a look at your macros. So for the first 7 days, all right, I'm going to write here 7 days. Don't change anything. I want you to use an app called MyFitnessPal. 7 days, MyFitnessPal, track everything as normal. Don't change a single thing. I know you've just watched this video and you want to start implementing it straight away. This first 7 days is so important because that's going to be data that we're going to collect. So you've tracked your calories for 7 days and you've realized that you're eating close to 4,000 calories. And when we have a look at your macronutrient breakdown, we see your fats are high, your protein's really low, and your carbs are low. So you're getting most of your nutrients Most of your calories are coming from fats. Protein's low, meaning your muscles don't recover and you don't repair after your training sessions, and your carbohydrates are low. So your energy is going to be low during your training sessions and throughout the day. So after that first 7-day period, I want you to then add in your custom macros that we use, the 3-2-1 rule. So add 3-2-1 rule. And that's going to go off your body weight. And that's going to give you your set calories and your set macros. Make sure you're tracking everything and don't go over your calories, and try your best to hit your macros. So if your protein target is 200 grams, do your best to hit 200 grams. If your carb goal is 300 grams, do your best to hit 300 grams. Now, how should we spread our meals out across the day? So if you're training 2 times in a day, we can talk about pre-workout nutrition. Pre-workout nutrition is actually very simple once you start to understand it. What we want to eat before training is a little bit different to what we might eat just for lunch on a non-training day, okay? Before a training session, we want to eat fast digesting carbs, okay? I'm going to call it here fast carbs. Now, we want to add that with a little bit of protein, 20 grams, okay? So when I talk about fast carbohydrates, it's a little bit different. There's different types of carbs. There's complex carbs, fast carbs. Specifically, fast carbs have a short sugar molecule chain, therefore they digest faster. Complex carbohydrates like brown rice are going to digest a lot slower. So imagine eating a cup of brown rice before a training session. It's not going to digest very well. It's going to sit on the stomach while you're hitting pads or you're shooting your takedowns, and you're going to feel like shit, okay? So switch it out for, let's just start with rice cakes, honey, and banana. Cool? 2 rice cakes, 1 banana plus honey. Trial out how this food works for you. Try it out 60 minutes before, try it out 90 minutes before, and see which one feels better. Because everyone digests food a little bit different and at different rates. But for the most part, we want to have fast digesting carbohydrates before our training session. Now, you're probably thinking, post-workout nutrition. What should I eat post-workout? So I'm just going to write here, post-workout. Everyone thinks they just need to have a protein shake. But as a combat athlete, that is simply just not enough. Yes, you do need protein, but again, we need to replenish the carbohydrates that we've just used out throughout that training session, because we want to back it up and train again tonight. So if we've got a morning training session, our post-workout nutrition meal becomes very, very important. It needs to be high in carbohydrates. The reason this needs to be high in carbs is because those carbs are going to digest, and it's going to help replenish our glycogen stores. So in the afternoon, we're ready to go. You've probably done it before. You've done a double training session. You've trained hard in the morning and you've just went home, had a protein shake, and then you feel like shit before you go to your next session. It's because you haven't had enough carbs. So your post-workout meal, yes, should have protein and should be high carbohydrate. Now, I want to talk to you about fats and fiber around your training session. Fats and fiber are both very good for us and very important. However, around training sessions, they can slow digestion. So around our training sessions, so before and after training, try to limit your amount of fats and try to limit the amount of fiber that you're consuming so it doesn't sit on the stomach and cause gastrointestinal discomfort, okay? That's a key note, write that down. Hopefully you've been taking some notes. So now that we've covered the basics of nutrition, in our Fighters Performance community that's linked below, we walk you through this step by step, and we even jump on group calls weekly to help you work through this and keep on top of your accountability. So if you're interested in that, links in the description. But now we're going to talk about your training. Now, when it comes to training, obviously we want to train hard. That's the goal. You got to train hard to get better and be a better fighter. But sometimes we overtrain. So I want to introduce you to something called super compensation. So this line here is going to represent your baseline. Now, when we train, so this here is going to be a training session, right? We go into what's called a fatigued state. From this fatigued state, we need time to recover to return back to baseline. If we do not allow enough time before we return back to baseline and we do another hard training session and we do it again, we don't allow enough time for recovery before, look at the trend that's starting to appear. We're training high load, high load, high load, high load, and look at the downward trend over time, okay? This is how we run into burnout, and this is why fighters feel like shit at the end of a week. So yes, you need to train hard, but you also need to train smart. So let's look at what a smart person would do, okay? Comes down the exact same trajectory, but here they're not doing a high load training session. They might do a low load training session, which allows them to return back up above baseline. This little part here is what we call the super compensation, okay? This is where we're getting better because we've allowed time between our session to recover and get better, that when we have our next high load training session, it puts us into fatigue state, we allow ourselves to recover, and now we can start to see the upward trend that is happening. And this is how we get better over time. Yes, I know you want to train hard, you want to train hard, you want to train hard, but over time that's just going to make you burn out and gas out, okay? So train hard and have a lighter, lower load session. So maybe some pads, some light shadow boxing. You can still come in and train. I'm not saying don't train. You should be in the gym every day, twice a day at a bare minimum, but not every single session has to be balls to the wall where you're training as hard as you possibly can, okay? So this is how I structure my week. I'm gonna write out Monday through Sunday. All right, so this is the week and this is how I set up my training. So Saturday is the most important day for me. It's my sparring day. On that day, I spar in the morning and then I do some S&C in the afternoon. So we can see Saturday is a high load day. I like to work back from sparring, whatever day is most important to you. If you spar on a Wednesday, make Wednesday your most important day. So write that down first. Therefore, because I know that every single Saturday is going to be a high load day, my Friday automatically becomes a medium to low load day. So on these days, I do boxing and some light drills, which means this day becomes medium load. Then from there, because I've allowed time to recover, okay, I can have another high load day here. So I do my S&C. Now this is just how I do it. I do my MMA and my Muay Thai. So you can see we're going high, medium, high, creating that bell curve, allowing for that recovery window, okay? So we can make Thursday high. And just again, we're gonna rinse and repeat. So I like to go high, medium to slash low. So high, low, high, low, high, low. So therefore, my Wednesday is gonna become technical. So in the morning, I do my tech rounds. In the afternoon, I do some pads, keeping it nice and light, not doing anything too crazy or going too hard there. So we can see Wednesday is a medium load day. Therefore, following our rule, going high, low, high, low. My Tuesday, I do my other S&C day, meaning that Tuesday is a high load day. Therefore, following the rule again, Monday is tech. What you might notice is Sunday is left open. This is my active rest. So this might be a walk on the beach, a swim in the water, something nice and leisurely. I take the dog for a walk, go get a coffee on the beach. Just kick back on Sundays, all right? You need this day of recovery. So this is a complete low day. I know it's hard. Use your Sunday to do your meal prep. Use your Sunday to get your week ready. Hopefully you're not working on a Sunday. Take the rest. You're gonna thank yourself later, okay? So this is how I structure my training week. You might be a little bit different. You might have to do 2 high load days in a row, but then just make this one a low one. If you only have the 1 high load a day a week, I'd probably recommend adding in another high load. So here, yes, I'm doing my S&C, my MMA, and my Muay Thai, so I might be doing my sprints on this day, my high intensity stuff. This S&C day, again, our MMA, we might be doing some hard live rounds, okay? Saturday, obviously nice and hard with our sparring, and then the S&C there as well. So you can see how I structure my week and I structure my training there as well. That is how I structure the load, but then I also structure each session. So one thing I see all the time is when young fighters are trying to go from amateur to professional, they just come in and they just hit pads. Let's just use a striking class, 1 hour. I see it all the time. The amateurs rock up, they quickly wrap their hands, and then they don't even have time to warm up before the class starts. So start cutting that shit out. Get to class 30 minutes early as a minimum. If you're not 30 minutes early to class, you're late. This 30 minutes is spent warming up. You could do some light mobility, some functional movements, get the body primed. You could also spend this time working on your shadow boxing drills, because the next thing we're going to talk about is focus. I have another video driving deep into focus, but basically, if you come into training and you're focusing on 10 different things, 1, 2, 3, that 1 hour of training session is only going to move you 1 progress unit forward. But if you come into training and you focus on the one thing, but you put all 10 units of focus onto that, look at how much progress you've made there. So if your focus for today is your footwork, you come in and you focus only on footwork. This is perfect to do in your first 30 minutes because you're going to be practicing those little things that you need to practice. Instead of, I see it all the time, people come in and focus on 10 different things. Try and just focus on the one thing. Our brain doesn't learn by doing 10 different things at once. We're going to forget it, okay? We need to have one thing. Become a little autistic with your training, all right? Dial in. When people are talking to you, just walk off because you're thinking about it so much. You need to start dialing in your focus on your training, okay? If you're focusing on other things outside of the gym, you need to cut that shit out while you're in the gym. The second you walk through that front door into the gym, your focus is 110% on progressing forward as an athlete. If you want to become a champion, you need to have this dialed in focus. That's 30 minutes before training. I also want you to stay 30 minutes after, as a minimum. So a minimum of 30 minutes after. In this 30 minutes, you could be focusing on your conditioning, you could be doing more bag rounds, you could be focusing on weaknesses. Ask your coach, write down on a whiteboard just like this what your weaknesses are. You stay 30 minutes after every class, all of a sudden over a week you've added in an extra few hours of training, and it's easy to stay 30 minutes after class. You're already here. So stop leaving the gym early, stay 30 minutes after no matter what. So if you've watched this video all the way through, you've been taking notes, then that tells me you're the exact type of person that I want in my Fighters Performance community. Yes, that's right. I run the #1 Fighters Performance community on school.com, and I want you to join. Right now, we've got a very special offer on. If you hit the link in the description, you're going to get the lowest price that our community will ever be again, because our price is set to rise very, very soon, okay? So inside this community, we show you how to go from average to becoming an absolute savage. We give you the roadmap, we give you the tools, we give you the education, we give you the support. There's weekly calls. You can jump on there, you can chat to me. There's weekly check-ins. We take you from average to savage. So if you're ready to take your performance to the next level and stop being a gassed out amateur, start becoming an elite professional, then this is where it is. The link's in the description. I'll see you in there.